Chinese Premier Li Qiang is on a 4-day official visit to Australia. This morning, he was welcomed with a grand ceremony in front of Australia's Parliament House in Canberra. Li Qiang then met with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Albanese said their talks were very constructive. The two leaders attended a ceremony where the governments signed new cooperation documents, including on education, tourism, and climate issues. This is the first visit by a Chinese premier to Australia in 7 years. Greg Navarro reports in Perth. Well, for the very latest, let's go live to our correspondent Greg Navarro in Perth. So, Greg, tell us more about Premier Li's schedule today.
Well, you've laid out a good number of the points that happened during the day. Today was the day that he was officially recognized, as you mentioned, the first time the highest-ranking Chinese official has visited Australia in 7 years, in this case for a premier. The two leaders, Li Qiang and Anthony Albanese, have spent a lot of time together over the past year. Albanese, you may remember, went to China to meet with the premier, and then, of course, they've met on the sidelines of several international summits as well. Look, today they used the day, though, for bilateral meeting where the two men and several ministers on both sides from both governments met behind closed doors, where they worked their way through a number of issues. You allude to some of those. That includes reaching agreements on things like climate change, education, tourism as well, and basically working through things that would help to foster and stabilize the relationship between the two countries. Both leaders today, in speaking afterwards, acknowledged just that they are very pleased the way things are progressing. You know, it's unlikely we'll see the relationship between the two countries where it was a decade ago, but it's certainly now much more stable and working toward I guess, a more positive outcome than certainly a couple of years ago before Anthony Albanese assumed office here in Australia as well. Now, the Premier will head here to Perth. Tomorrow, he'll be here for several events. That includes a roundtable with business leaders, as well as visiting some processing facilities, one for lithium, the other one a mining facility, with an eye on stabilizing supplies. Remember, Australia is China's biggest supplier of iron ore, for example, which is very popular in the state. Australia has most of it. China uses it to make steel. A lot of lithium that comes from here, with just about all of it, ends up going into China for electric batteries. So a lot of very important trade relationships and supply chains that the Premier will be looking to shore up, secure, and look ahead into the future.
Well, Greg, Premier Li announced on Monday that China will include Australia in its list of visa-free countries. What's the latest on this front?
Well, it's exactly what it says. So China's got this list of countries that's allowed to travel to China, visa-free, and in this case, Australia was just added to that. Basically, what it means for Australians is that they're able to travel to China and stay there for up to 15 days without needing to apply for a visa. Process, no matter what country you apply for, can often take some time and cost money. The move is seen to help encourage tourism. It's adding another country to that list for China, encourage more tourism to China. There are a lot of links, people-to-people links between the two countries, and that will certainly make it easier for people wanting to travel to China, for example, to visit family and friends and things along those lines. It's also a further example, according to Anthony Albanese, of how the two countries, that relationship continues to stabilize and move forward. And he said this is just one more example of all of that happening.
Okay, thank you for the update. Greg Navarro reporting from Perth.